So we're in Psalm 52. Psalm 52 for the choir director, a maskil of David, when Doeg the Edomite came and told Saul and said to him, David has come to the house of Ahimelech. Why do you boast in evil, O mighty man? The loving kindness of God endures all day long. Your tongue devises destruction like a sharp razor, O worker of deceit. You love evil more than good, falsehood more than speaking what is right. Selah. You love all words that devour, O deceitful tongue, but God will break you down forever. He will snatch you up and tear you away from your tent and uproot you from the land of the living. Selah. And the righteous will see and fear and will laugh at him, saying, Behold, the man who would not make God his refuge, but trusted in the abundance of his riches, and was strong in his evil desire. But as for me, I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the loving kindness of God forever and ever. I will give thee thanks forever, because thou hast done it, and I will wait on thy name, for it is good in the presence of thy holy ones. So the background of it, mentioned here in the introduction part of it, is David's on the run in 1 Samuel. Saul tries to kill him several times, and finally him and Jonathan come to an agreement that David's going to skip a meal that he was invited to, and if Saul got mad and tried to kill Jonathan, then he would know, this is it's time to leave. And so Jonathan goes to the meal. Saul's angry that David didn't show up because he had evil in his heart to kill him, and David runs off. He's hiding in a field, and Jonathan comes out with his armor bearer, or a young boy, and starts shooting arrows, and the signal is made that David needs to go, and so after Jonathan sends the young boy back with the arrows, he embraces him and tells him how much he cares about his friend, and David leaves, and he flees to the caves and the hills in the area around Jerusalem, and there's a lot of hill country out there, and he's on the run from Saul, his father-in-law of all people, who absolutely just wants to kill David. Along this way, he goes to the house of Ahimelech at Nob, who is the priest, and he asks that that if he had any bread that he could eat. He takes the consecrated bread and he eats of that in the presence of God, and so he runs off to the king of Gath, and he's playing like he's insane, because the king of Gath is like, isn't this the guy that killed Goliath? Well, while he's at the house of Ahimelech, Doeg the Edomite sees him. And Doeg the Edomite doesn't like David. He's on the side of Saul. He wants to just go ahead and kill him. But David's escaped to the cave of Adullam, and he finds out that the whole household of Ahimelech has been killed because of Doeg the Edomite. Went and told Saul, hey, these guys have been helping David. And because King Saul doesn't like David, he goes off and kills these people. He shouldn't have done that. It was wrong. Well, he finds out about it. And this is his response. He's like, he's basically directing this song to Doeg. Why do you boast in evil, O mighty man? So instead of doing what is right, Doeg wanted to do what was wrong. He wanted to do evil more than he wanted to do good. And it was so much more important to him to try to kill David, to be on the side of Saul, than it was to honor the Lord, that he just did whatever he needed to. His tongue was loud, like a sharp razor. He used his tongue to tell him things that he shouldn't have spoke. And there were people who died as in the process. Your tongue devises destruction. A sharp razor, a worker of deceit. You love evil more than good. We know people like this. We know people, you can see them on social media. You can see them around everywhere. People who just want to... Their intention with what they speak is evil, and they want to do as much damage as possible. And it doesn't matter what it is. They're just going to find something to complain about. They're going to find some reason to stir the pot. Somebody does something wrong. There's some conflict. Next thing you know, here comes this evil worker speaking evil words, seeking to cut people apart. They show up in churches. We know this. It's just part of life. People do this, and their desire is evil from their heart. He says, you love all words that devour, O deceitful tongue. We've got to pay attention to the words that we speak, because you can't take them back. But your words reveal your heart. The way you respond to somebody may reveal your heart and your feeling. It might even reveal your own hidden sin. But he's telling Doeg, you love all the words that devour, O deceitful tongue. And then he gives him a warning. But God's going to break you down forever. Because what he did was so evil. And there were innocent people who died. He pronounces this doom on him. God's going to break you down forever. He'll snatch you up and tear your tent away from tear you away from your tent. Basically, he's saying you're not going to have any project. Your family's going to be destroyed. Not just you, but your whole family lineage. Because you killed Ahimelech and most of his family. One person survived and escaped. Came to David and told him about it. But because you did this and killed out a whole family of innocent priests, your whole family is going to be destroyed. And that was something that would come upon Doeg. The response of that is everyone else is going to see what happens to him. The righteous will see and fear and will laugh at him. They'll laugh at him as God destroys him. I mean, this might sound strange, but God even in his word says he's going to laugh at those who are his enemies as he destroys them. Could you imagine that? We don't often think about God laughing at those he's fighting against. How incredulous we are at times to think that we can fight against God, that we can somehow pit our strength against God's strength. We're nothing compared to God, and if we're his enemies, then we have a lot to fear on that. And Doeg, he thought he was going to get David, but what he ends up doing is fighting against the Lord. The righteous will see and fear and laugh at him, saying, "Behold, the man who would not make God his refuge." Is our life a good example or a bad example? If it's a good example, it's because we're following the Lord in faithfulness and we're trusting God. But there are many people whose lives are good, bad examples. Like, don't follow that person. Don't follow the way that they live. Don't follow the way that they speak, because here's how it plays out. And you can just look at the lifespan of a person and say, okay, this is something that we can talk about. This person did X, Y, and Z, and here's the consequences of it, and here's how it played out. Doeg did this as the family of Ahimelech was killed, and he would be suffering for a long time for it. He would die. Well, because Doeg didn't trust God, didn't make God his refuge, he was in the house of the priest. Think about that. He was there in the house of the priest for religious reasons or whatever, doing the religious service he was supposed to. But then he goes off and does evil. It's like he forgot why he even went to church. Does that make sense? He went to church to worship, and now he's out there backbiting and talking evil of people, and the people he's speaking evil of, they're suffering and dying, and it doesn't line up. But we see this isn't something new. When people say church is full of a bunch of hypocrites, there's a reason why they say that, and well, here's one. He was in the right place here. He should have been worshiping God, but then he goes out and does all these things he shouldn't be doing. Our life needs to line up with what we believe. What we say and what we believe and how we act needs to line up. David is the better example, going to the house of God to get something he needed because he was a man on the run. He needed help. And what he got was help from Ahimelech, but hurt from Doeg. While he was there getting help, confessing his sin, seeking help, seeking assistance, asking God for help, somebody overhears him, and they take advantage of that. So that's something that I don't think we should ever do. If we have a time of invitation at a church and somebody comes and confesses sin and asks for forgiveness, we should never run off and go, "Oh, did you hear what somebody confessed?" We shouldn't do that. Or if they come to the altar and they're crying out in prayer, and obviously they're hurt and we don't know what the deal is, but they're praying. We should never go out and go, "Oh, did you miss this?" And they were crying over something. I wonder what it is. None of our business. None of our business. We should help people, not hurt them. Well, Doeg's a perfect example of what not to do. Behold, the man who would not make God his refuge. He trusted in the abundance of his riches and was strong in his evil desire. We need to be killing our sin, not cultivating it. We need to crush those things in our life that make us want to talk or backbite or hurt other people. We need to get rid of that. And we need to trust in the loving kindness of God. David was a man on the run. He was going to die if Saul got a hold of him. well, we are dead in our trespasses and sins, and if God got a hold of us in judgment, then we don't stand a chance either, but we fall on his grace. And so this is what David was falling on, the grace of God, literally, to seek help in this time of need. And so David says, I'm going to trust in the loving kindness of God forever and ever. I'll give you thanks forever because you've done it. I'll wait on your name, for it is good in the presence of your holy ones. David knew of all places that he could go in his time of trouble. He could go to wherever God was, and God would give him assistance. Whether that to be the priest's house or calling on him in the wilderness, God would show up and help David. What kind of person do we want to be? I would say let's not follow the example of Doeg that would hurt somebody when they're trying to find help from the Lord. The Lord did deal with him, and he paid a high price for that. So.